We are live, and I am excited today to do my 2023 real estate market update and predictions. Last year, 2022, I did my first predictions. I'm not a huge fan of predictions because, it's just so many different variables, but it's also kind of fun. And it's exciting to be able to look back and see how did you come up with my predictions and how did they fare comparatively to what actually happened. And it's definitely interesting to look at other people's previous predictions to make sure that, hey, am I wild and just completely off base on some of these predictions, or were others too? And a specific example of that would be my 2022 prediction for interest rates. At the time that I did the video, interest rates were, just around 3%. And I thought that they might get up to 3.8%, maybe 4%, if things went crazy. And that came and went real quick. I actually bought an investment property in March of 2022, and I closed. Now, this isn't an investor rate, but I closed at 4.75%. And I was kind of bummed. I was like, man, I'm just not even excited about this rate. And homeowner rates were about 4.25% at that time. And now I look at that and I'm like, well, shoot, I'm glad that I closed that deal. And looking at the interest rates for the cash flow on that investment property really probably wouldn't have worked unless I put more down. And I put 32% down on that property. So, and I'm cash flowing $0. It was a placement of capital. Anyways, long story short, 4.75% is what I locked that in at. And interest rates got all the way up to 7.3% for homeowners, 7.5 to 7.75% for investors, and probably some 8s as well. 9% interest only loans that I've heard about, not necessarily private investors or private lenders, I should say, but national lenders gave those types of loans. But that was where I was probably the farthest off base. So today we'll talk to you guys about interest rates, median sales price, median days on markets, these predictions, what happened in December, and my predictions from 2022. But my name is Patrick Sukup, living in Fort Collins, real estate. Sukup Real Estate is my company. We have a Living in Fort Collins YouTube channel. It talks to you guys about everything there is to know about Fort Collins. And starting this week, actually, on Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m., I'm going to go live on a weekly basis. And I'm going to talk to you guys about things that are happening within the community, new developments, city council, and then, kind of focus on a single neighborhood each week. It's going to be about 10 to 15 minutes long. So join in. But the recent land development code, which we'll talk about political predictions, but the recent land development code that split the city in two, more than anything, showed how maybe not informed the majority of folks are in town and throughout the community. So I'm going to take the opportunity to watch the city council meetings on Tuesday evenings or watch reruns, get some information from it, and then give you a 10 to 15 minute rundown of those along with other things on Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So definitely feel free to join. There's no council meeting until the 17th of January. So nothing for the next couple weeks as far as city council stuff. But we are licensed realtors in this state of Colorado. So if you are considering buying, selling, or investing, feel free to reach out to us. We'd be happy to help. Now, jumping into what my predictions were for 2022, we're going to kind of run down. We talked about population, political, inventory, interest rates, and median sales prices were kind of the 5. And I'm going to add 2 others this year as far as predictors, and one that we won't really be able to take into account necessarily, but I do have ways to get that information. Starting out with the population increase, City of Fort Collins started the year at 2022 at 175,000 people. I thought it would increase by about 1% or so, increased closer to about 1.5% to 177,500. So not too far off on that necessarily. Again, we have these articles that come out that talk about how amazing Fort Collins is, great places to live, to move. So until those articles stop coming out, we would expect a net inflow of people moving forward, I would suspect. Then from there, I'm going to jump into kind of my, you guys are seeing me looking down, but we had politically, I thought that the U+2 and tiny homes weren't really going to do anything necessarily, but I did predict that the ADUs were going to have a big impact. And in fact, they did. Well, they did for all of about a month and a half while the land development code change passed city council with a first reading of 6-1 and a second reading of 5-2. But then the Preserve Fort Collins petition group came into play, got more than 4,000 signatures needed, closer to 7,000 signatures. So that land development code change is going to go back to city council. They can either repeal it or revise it. So we'll see what happens in 2023. Inventory, I believe we will pick back up to 1.5 months of supply by the end of the year. We're closer to, we ended December with 1.2 months supply. So relatively close there. We did pop up close to 1.5, but never exceeded a month and a half supply of inventory. And high level inventory, a balanced market would be 4 to 6 months of inventory, which means it would take 4 to 6 months if not a single new home came onto the market for that to be absorbed. But we haven't seen that. Well, I've been in real estate for a decade, and I think the highest I've seen it is 4 months supply. Interest rates, again, this is where I think everyone just got shook by interest rates. I thought it was going to end the year at 3.8 to 4%. Got all the way up to 7.3% for homeowners, right around 6.5% right now, 6.3%, depending, and then hovering right around that 6.5 to 6.3%. Median prices, I thought we're going to kind of normalize a little bit closer to the average since the 70s of 5.5%, but which my guess was about 7%. So we were going to go from 535 to 572. We ended the year on a 12-month rolling average median sales price of $610,000, so closer to 14% appreciation. So while it's not the 21% or the 17% that has happened, it is still, this contracted inventory, net inflow of people into Northern Colorado, producing prices that are, still in demand. So those were my 5 predictions, moving forward and how I fared on them. So right now, before I get into the predictions for 2023, let's just see how December, acted, and we'll jump into my, let's go right here. All right. Sorry, we'll get right there, guys. Hold with me. There we go. All right. Sharing it. I believe you guys should be able to see this now. We are going, the biggest, this right here. I wanted to show the biggest things right here is new listings. This is, let's just go max. This is what I'm calling the golden handcuffs of the interest rates that people have gotten over the last 2 years, while they hovered right around 3% and to 2.5%. The lowest amount of new listings hit the market this December 31st since 2013. The lowest other than that was 63 in 2018. And we had only 31 new listings hit the market. So this kind of jumps into where people are still going to sell, but it's going to have to be a bigger life circumstances that pushes them to do that. Divorce, marriage, new child, new major big job opportunity, or again, the ability to remote work, moving from a more expensive community probably to a lesser expensive community, such as kind of like an example, San Francisco to Fort Collins. It's still seen as a discount. Again, month supply dropped from a high in September, a month and a half, down to that 1.2 month supply. Sales price jumped we had a high median sales price in June of 647,000, but it kind of came back down to earth to 586,000. But the rolling 12 is where you get that 610. Those are really the biggest kind of pricing and updates that I wanted to talk about specific to the Fort Collins market. Interest rates, again, 6.3 to 6.5%. Inventory, median seller's price. Now, what we will talk about is days on market and my predictions for 2023. So without any further delay, we've talked about our predictions and how we fared in 2022. We talked about how the current market is acting as of December 2022. But how do we go moving forward into 2023? These are my predictions. Population, we're going to continue to grow percent and a half. And like I said, until those articles stop coming out. So I would expect us to end the year right around 180,000 people in Fort Collins. Politically, I think the land development code is probably going to be the front and center poster child of how the Fort Collins real estate market moves forward. With the petitions that have been signed, I think the council will revise the current land development code. The biggest things of contention are the neighborhood meetings and ADUs anywhere, and the removal of the single family residential zone. I think a lot of the other things might be, okay, but it'll be interesting to see how that gets presented. And I think there will be a significant amount of public outreach. One thing to know, I talked with, and actually we'll have a podcast coming up, going live, I think tomorrow actually, is the city planner, Rebecca. She told me, and did, these types of land code changes don't go to the city to vote because they make them so often and frequently. This is one is just such an overarching change since 1997 that, maybe it should have gone to the voters. I don't know, but generally speaking, like when the short-term rental ordinance came in, that just went to city council. It didn't go to the voters, just went to city council. They voted on these zoning issues and a short-term rental ordinance. And so that's how it passed. So it's not like this is something new or anything crazy that they really put under the table. But I think moving forward politically, they're going to really give a lot of public outreach. And we will see by the end of the year, I'm guessing, what the land development code changes to. And I believe at that time will pass with support of the majority of the community, because you're never going to make everybody happy. Inventory. I think we might see inventory pop up to 2 months beginning of the spring, while we talked to a lot of buyers, a lot of sellers over the last really 3 or 4 months that had pulled their properties off the market to prep and get them ready for the spring selling market. And I think we're going to have this pretty, decent inflow of properties from sellers that must sell or need to sell or want to sell. And it'll pop that inventory up to 2 months, but then I think it's going to normalize back down to a month and a half, really for the remainder of the year, middle of summer moving forward. So we might see a little pop up to 2 months, which would be the highest that we've seen in a good long while. But I think still putting very significant pressure on prices with demand. One thing to note about demand is the Mortgage Bankers Association tracks new mortgage applications. And as of the week of December 21st, new mortgage applications were down 36% for the same week 1 year prior. So we are seeing, while we are seeing a contracted new listings, 31, the lowest that we've seen since 2013, 31 new listings onto the market, we are also seeing a significant decrease in demand with new mortgage applications. So we're not seeing this discrepancy of, all-time high inventory, new listings, and all-time low new mortgage applications. And that's what would see some pressure on prices, which I am getting a certain amount of conversations with buyers and clients that are a little bit sad that prices haven't come down to what they thought that might happen, and kind of replanning how they're moving forward. This is kind of one thing that I think is probably going to happen, not a ton. I think percentage-wise is going to be a small percent of the total sales, but off-market deals. I'm an investor. Love buying investments. It's been tough over the last 2, 3, 4 years, just based off the demand of Fort Collins, the numbers, all that good stuff. But that being said, when I go talk with a seller, I give them 3 options. I usually say, hey, this is option 1. If you prep and prepare your house to the nth degree, you're going to get the top dollar on the market. Hey, if you just put your house on the market, not put any effort into it, you're going to get this price. And hey, 3, if you want to sell tomorrow cash, I will buy it for X price, and tell them that, hey, these numbers also that are going onto the market are just a guess. You could get 5, 10, 15% higher than that. So over the last 2 years as a broker, you had to tell your clients that it was like, you should put your house on the market. No way should you do an off-market deal, because the market will go nuts potentially, and you could be leaving 5 to 10% of the price of your home on the table, and that I wouldn't do. But with a more stabilized price list to sales price ratio, we're closer to about 99.7% than we were at 106% of sales price to list price. I think that people can find out a true market value of their home, and people will do off-market deals. I've got probably 2 or 3 clients that are in the, $1.5 to $2.5 million range as far as homes. And as far as if I have a client that matches those criteria, they would be willing to sell and do an off-market deal. I think those will return a little bit higher, but again, still be a small percentage of the total sales. Days on market. I do want to show this as far as on the stats, because I think it's really important. I think this is where we will see a significant change. And because over the last 2 years, we have seen days on market, which in Fort Collins is calculated from the day that it hits the market to the day that it closes. That is the total days on market. And as you can see, over the last 2 years, 13 days, that's basically, it's on and off. It's under contract before it even hits the market. But the typical contract length in Fort Collins is about 30 days for all the due diligence and things of that nature, or the contract term. And so you have about 2 or 3 days on the market, going to contract 30 days. So that's where you see 33, 34, which is just essentially saying as soon as that property hits the market, it's getting multiple offers, going under contract, and closing. But we have seen over the last 4 or 5 months, days on market ticking up. And 54, historically, you can see that 50 to 60 isn't out of the norm by any means in a normal market. Get back to 2013 and you're at 86 days, meaning a home is on the market for 50 days before it goes under contract. I think that we will see a rolling 12-month average, which right now we're just so low because of the last 12 months, it still is taking into account. I think we'll see a lower 12-month average closer to this 2015 period, between 45 to 50 days on market, which means sellers are going to be more apt to negotiate. That means that buyers are going to have more options of houses and not feel like they have to rush so quickly to the market. But that is my days on market that I didn't have as far as a prediction in 2022, but we'll have it in 2023. Now, my last 2 predictions are interest rates. So interest rates, I missed the ball. I thought it was going to be 4% ending the year 2022. Man, that would have been nice. Golly. But I think all of the frenziness and craziness would still be happening. So the 7% really put a big pail of water on this overheated market. And I think we'll probably end the year right around 6%. That's a pretty wimpy prediction. I'm not being bold about it at all, but you read all the experts, you could see some saying that's going to drop down to the 5s, even 4.5%. And if it does, you could see a lot of people refinance. I hope that it does. One of the things I just talked with my assistant Izzy about is, as far as people buying right now, I think there's still going to be people very much interested in buying in Fort Collins, based off of all the conversations we have just over the last 3 weeks with all the reach out we have. We average basically one person every other day reaching out to us to considering relocation to Fort Collins. We help so many families across the country, and I don't think that's going to go away. And the conversations that we're having is, hey, if this price is right and the monthly mortgage works, best case scenario is you get a lower rate in 2 or 3 years. Worst case scenario is you're stuck with this mortgage that you're comfortable with over the next 30 years. Go into today's market with the intention that you're never going to refinance. And if you get lucky, then hey, it's basically you got to raise if rates do drop to 4.5%. So we'll see. I think they'll probably stay throughout the year right around 6%, maybe drop to 5.5, tick up to 6.5, but hover right around 6% all year long. And then median sales price. I just reverted back to a normalized market. I think that we're still going to have strong demand. Inventory is going to be contracted. But we do, again, we have about a 40% decrease in number of new mortgage applications. So I think that those are going to kind of level out, and we will see a 5.5% appreciation from $610,000 to $643,000, roughly. So, who knows what the market actually does? I know a conversation that a lot of us are having is, or a lot of potential buyers are having, are waiting for this crash. And, every economist is suggesting, I think I heard 21 out of 23 economists are predicting a recession. And with it, then, job losses. And one of the things I've talked about with my wife is, she was concerned or considering like, hey, well, doesn't matter if they have a 3% mortgage, they couldn't still afford that home. And I said, if somebody loses their job, it doesn't matter if they have a 7% loan or a 3% loan. They have no income coming in. Hopefully they have a safety net, but ultimately are going to have to sell that house. So that's something that is definitely super important moving forward, is the employment base, and how that looks for Fort Collins. Overall, I think the Fort Collins, Northern Colorado market is going to hold very strong, but we will see. A year went by very fast in 2022, and I'll be excited to do this review in 2024 to look about how crazy I am. Is there going to be a number like I missed on the interest rates? Is it going to be median sales price that drops 5%, or median sales price that goes up 10% again instead of 14%? Days on market, maybe that takes from, right now 45 to 70 days on market, and homes are just sitting on the market. It's just, you never know. These are things based off of historical data, what the market's currently doing, inflow of migration, interest rates, all of these different things play in. And I hope this information was worthwhile for you guys to hear. I don't know if you guys have any questions. I'll definitely stick around for a few minutes. There's, let's see, 3 different platforms that this is on today: Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And all 3 of them, but we're streaming from StreamYard, which is a great platform if you do any type of content production. But it doesn't look like anything going. This will be ran on the YouTube channel. So watching it, you can rewatch the entire thing. If you have any questions, comment. I make sure to get back. Oh, the one thing I don't do, and this was, I learned this when I first started in YouTube 3 years ago, was I don't respond to necessarily negative comments. And so I got kind of grief given to me by one guy. Oh, he doesn't respond to comments. I do. My wife was a 2-time Olympian. She had some kind of trolls that would troll her. And she's like, I just never responded to anything negative. And all it gets you is negative. I try to live my life positively. So I respond to everything, even mediocrely positive or 100% positive. So if you have any questions, never hesitate to reach out, ask questions, whether it's a text, email, call, or comments in the comment section below. If it's a positive one, I will for sure get back to you. All righty. There was the housing market update and predictions for 2023. Thanks for joining, everybody.